All right, well, hello beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. Cody, always here to help you have the most healthy, glowing, and gorgeous skin. And if you are new, welcome. And if you love this information, please subscribe. So today I have a special guest. Her name is Crystal. Say hi, Crystal.
Hello.
And Crystal is the newest addition to the Montarbo family. She is my assistant, my lead esthetician. And I am so honored to have her bringing her consciousness and her love and her awareness and just her ability to be in this industry for the right reasons so that she can work on my customers and clientele and just give them an incredible service, just a very loving and pampering service. And she also has 7 years experience.
7 years in the game, yes.
7 years in the game. And she's just an incredible human being, but really a great practitioner, because I believe that, you know, if you're doing this kind of hands-on work, you should be here to really want to help people and not just be like, oh, gotta chase that money, honey. And, you know, everybody does everything differently, but that's one of the reasons why when I was interviewing her, I just wanted to kind of see where her mindset was at. And I knew right away, but I just wanted to make sure. And she's just here for the right reasons to help people and to really make them feel better about who they are and to make sure that that reflection that's always inside matches the outside, because sometimes our skin can get a little haywire and we forget our truest beauty, which is always inside, that beautiful soul of ours. And I feel like she's a great reflection of who I've attracted to be able to mirror that also back onto my clients. So anyway, Crystal, do you want to say anything just to introduce yourself? Or
No, other than I'm here to learn and help and just experience, take it all in.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
So please make sure that you give her a warm welcome in the comment section. And today I thought it would be fun and just something different and interesting because she has so many great questions. And as I've been training her, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to train her? Because everything, you know, when you're in the industry doing what you do so long, a lot of stuff is intuitive. And you know, if somebody asks you why you do something, you're like, I don't know why I do that. That's a great question. So I thought it would be a great idea and just something different to mix it up here on YouTube. Not just to introduce her, but also to have her ask me some questions that she's been asking me and that her other customers have been asking her. Also, so maybe you can relate to some of these questions because they are questions a lot coming from a consumer and your clientele already.
Right.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just get into it then. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay,
and we're going to have some tea here, so grab your beverage of choice and what you love and join us for this conversation. I hope this video won't be too long because I know you guys have better things to do than just sit here and watch me talk and talk and talk. But I am my most favorite subject and I do love hearing my own voice.
Right,
that's why I have my own channel.
Right. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it.
Exactly.
So my first question is about SPF, and this subject got brought up because I'm part of a group forum for makeup artists and also estheticians. Pretty much they were talking about SPF and makeup, and you know, or is SPF 15 enough, or you know, do you have to do more? I've heard, you know, different answers from different people saying, oh yeah, 15's enough, and then other people are like, well, no, that's not going to be enough. So I don't know. Great question.
Have you thought that? Have you ever wanted to ask that question? I think that's a wonderful question because I haven't had many people ask that question, and when you asked it a couple days ago, I was like, oh, save that for a video, girl. So anyway, so the first question is, it's kind of two questions, right? One is SPF 15 enough, and two is the makeup SPF enough?
Right.
Or is it like SPF in my makeup, is it enough?
Right. Or is it a gimmick?
Is it a gimmick? Okay.
Yeah.
So of course these are only my opinions. I can only share my experience, my opinions, what works for me and my clientele, and keeping them just so that their skin is really flawless. Because I am in San Diego and I deal with a lot of melasma, that's an area that I specialize in, and I love working on people with melasma because a lot of people are told that they need some huge aggressive laser treatment or something like that, or surgery, and that nothing can really be done about it. And there's a lot of things you can do to treat melasma. So I'm a little bit more cautious with the recommendations I recommend, or the products I recommend, just because there's a lot of like bunk stuff out there. And one thing that happens with the sunscreen industry and the sunscreen products is that there's a lot of this marketing around SPF 500 and SPF 1,000,000 and all of this stuff, right?
Right.
And I think that for the most part, when you do the research on it, you'll be quite shocked to know that, first of all, The biggest issue with sunscreen, I think, is that if you'll actually wear it. So it has to be a formulation that will feel comfortable on your skin that you'll actually wear. But anything after a 30 doesn't really work much. And people will think, well, can I just use a 15? Which is your question. I'm going on and on already. But the truth is, in my opinion, it's this. 30 should be the gold standard. It should be always where you start with sunscreen. And the reason is because most people that I know are not putting enough sunscreen on. I'm shocked when I show them how much sunscreen is really necessary to be putting on the skin, because a lot of people, one, it's greasy, it's gross, it can cause acne, even if it says non-acnegenic, non-comedogenic, and it feels just like kind of heavy on the skin. And that's why most people don't put enough on. So that's why companies are constantly trying to formulate it so that it's a little bit lighter on the skin. But the issue I have with SPF 15 is that if you're not putting enough of SPF 15 on, you're probably putting about SPF 7 on, so you're not getting that much protection, but you think you're getting protection because you're wearing sunscreen every day. That's the biggest thing I hear is, but I wear sunscreen every day. Why am I getting melasma? Why am I getting discoloration? Why am I getting all of this sun damage? It's like, well, because you're not putting enough on, and more importantly, you're not reapplying it. Right. So I'm kind of lazy, and the truth is, I'd rather put an SPF 30 on my skin, have a little bit extra time to be able to have in the sun or be outside in the environment without having to necessarily always reapply. If I'm laying outside, if I'm at the beach, then I reapply. But I'm probably not the best. I don't reapply before I go out on a break on my lunch. I just don't, because I just don't want to feel greasy, and I just don't do that. So I think SPF 30 should be kind of the standard of where you start, and anything over like 55 is really not necessary. Now, in a makeup, I just do not think, because you need to put enough on in order to get a block. That's why they put SPF, or that's why they put UVA, UVB protectors, and some of those are chemical and some of those are physical. But the chances of you piling on enough makeup to really get an honest, genuine protection of UV light is very unlikely, in my opinion. So I think that it's better to put an SPF on, that is SPF 30, and that you should never rely on your makeup as a sun protection. It's only an added bonus. It's an extra benefit. It's not an actual sun block or sun protective factor, even though it says it in there. A lot of times it's a 2-in-1, it kills 2 birds with 1 stone, and it's a marketing tactic that also lets women falsely believe that they have enough protection on their skin when they really don't, because you're not piling on. I'm going to show you a little bit of how much sunscreen you should be putting on, especially if you're suffering with discoloration. So that's about how much. That's it. Quite a lot of sunscreen on your face every single day. Face and neck. So that is what, like a quarter size amount?
That's a good quarter size amount.
A good quarter size amount. Are you putting that much on? Probably not. If you are, let us know. You're probably one of the very few people that are, and you're very A-type. Yeah. But you're also not reapplying that much. So I just think it's a good habit. I always think of how people think and how people behave. And most of us, we're in a rush, we don't have time. You also need to make sure you're putting that sunscreen on and letting it soak in for 15 minutes. Now, of course, if it's a physical sunscreen, you don't necessarily need to do that. Chemical sunscreen, or excuse me, yeah, if it's a physical sunscreen like titanium or zinc, you don't need to wait 15 minutes. But most of us are in a rush, and we don't know, and we're not looking at the bottle to know the exact amount of physical versus chemical. So it's just a good habit to put it on, at least let it soak in for 5 to 10 minutes if possible, before you ever go into the sun. Did I answer your question?
You answered my question and then some.
And then some.
And I did want to say that I absolutely agree with everything that you said too, and I do think it's kind of a gimmick a little, so I say just rely on your skincare, keep makeup, and a lot of times it changes the color of makeup too when you add SPF. It sometimes gives that weird opaque, you know, it doesn't look like skin or complexion. Yeah. She's an incredible makeup artist, by the way. Like, you know, done print and all kinds of stuff. So she's definitely the makeup queen. We'll bring her on some videos for that stuff and that information later, but for makeup tips and stuff. So, so question number 2. So it's folliculitis or ingrown hairs. So a lot of men do suffer from it, and I notice a lot of ethnic types too, especially if you have coarse, you know, thick hair. And I suppose maybe some tips and tricks how you would treat that or handle that, how to shave, if 2 blades better than 5 or 5, you know, because I've heard different views on that too. So
good. My ego is loving these questions. Okay, I love you getting me to think and stuff. So Yeah, folliculitis is a huge issue for men, especially black men. Their hair is curlier and it kind of curls inward, and sometimes in the pore, the follicle has two or more hairs coming out of that follicle, and so it's just a really hard thing to be able to be on top of because. So the first thing I think is that the more razors are on the razor, the better, because you're going to not blunt that razor so much. I say this coming from a drag person. I used to do drag, and when I shave, that's why I don't shave, I trim. Because if I shaved tonight, I'm going to get a pimple. Because one, my skin is very sensitive. It's just always how my skin has been. But I think if you have folliculitis, if you're dealing with that, the first thing you need to know is how to shave kind of properly for your skin type. And one of the things is getting a razor that has 5 razors if possible. Because if you do that, like I said, it's not going to blunt the razor. But more importantly, you're able to pass over that skin more times without irritation. And the more you kind of tug or take that blade directly to the skin, the more times you're kind of pushing that hair into the follicle, back into the follicle, which causes an instant way for bacteria and inflammation to occur. And once inflammation occurs in that follicle, then there's a response that occurs where it goes up to kind of kill that inflammation and that response, but that's how the oil gets trapped in there, that's how bacteria gets trapped in there, and that's how you get a bit of an infection. So it's a little bit of a sign of infection happening because you're pushing it back into the skin, the follicle, and you're also kind of just irritating and traumatizing the top layer by shaving. So I think you should do 5 razors. You should also heat up that bearded area wherever you're shaving as much as possible with good water, and also do a light manual scrub before so that you're kind of pulling that hair out of the shaft a little bit. And then when you do shave, I prefer olive oil, not shaving creams and all that stuff, because a lot of them are very actually drying to the skin. They have a lot of alcohol and stuff in there, and they're so expensive. I'm like, olive oil is 2 cents, okay? Yeah. And you put olive oil after you've heated up the skin. You've also exfoliated. If you don't have an exfoliator, you can just use even baking soda. Your goal is to try to get that dead skin off and lift it up out of the follicle and pour a little bit so that it's popping out a little bit. So when you do shave, you're actually getting a closer shave because you've taken off that skin. And then when you shave, you're going to shave in the direction of the hair. Never in the opposite. You know how old school dad, grandpa used to go always up like this? Mm-hmm. If you're hardcore and you don't have issues with that, that's fine. But if you're sensitive, you need to take and pull your skin and tug it, and then find the direction of where it's growing and razor in the direction. And never go in the back to get a close shave. And if you've done the other things, heat up the skin, exfoliate the skin, and then do that this way with a 5 blade razor or as high as you can, and shave in the direction, you won't need to keep going over that skin and go backwards because it will be close enough. Okay. Yeah.
And then does it have to be extra virgin olive oil in particular?
Preferably. Yes, extra virgin, organic if you can, but if you can't, you can't.
Okay. Oh. And would you recommend for someone who has that issue or that condition to exfoliate more than normal?
Yes and no. Great question. It's a question and a question. I love it. So, also, after you're done shaving, you should put a salicylic acid gel or something on there because that will help to kill the inflammation and the bacteria a little bit, and it will keep that pore open. A salicylic clean and clear gel even would be helpful, or a liquid kind of wash or something. I don't know if it's about how often you should exfoliate, but you should definitely exfoliate before you shave. Okay. So heat up that skin, heat up that area, and then exfoliate really well. Don't get crazy. And then do it like that. Okay. Yeah.
And you can't go cheap with the razors.
I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. Yeah. Oh, and another little trick, you may not know this. If you want your razors, doesn't matter whether it's one razor, and if all you can afford is one, that's fine. Just do these other tricks. But take that razor when you're done, clean it really well with soap and water, and even get all of the hairs out, like with even an old toothbrush. Yeah. And then take and get a little container filled with extra virgin olive oil and put it and keep that blade completely immersed in the olive oil. And what that will do is it will make the blade not rust. The reason why you need to replace the razors a lot is because they're not cleaned well, and the water and from the water will start to oxidize that blade. So if it's kept in oil, there's no oil, it can't oxidize, no air getting to it. So the blade won't get rusty and won't dull out. It'll keep it sharper longer, and you'll end up using that razor for months.
Oh, wow. And that doesn't affect the razor in any way in its performance?
No.
Okay. Mm-mm. Good. Okay, good to know.
It's a 2-in-1, bro, today.
We're helping a lot of men today.
Yeah. I think I might do a video in the future. I'll shave for you guys on how to shave.
Yeah.
Like how I think you should shave.
I got the olive oil.
Oh, yeah, right? I'm like, let me think about that. Let me work on that one. I just have to do it a very specific way or I'll get a breakout. It's like almost every time.
Yeah. We'll be careful.
Yeah.
I know your viewers are like, oh my god, what happened?
Pray for me. Pray for
like
me.
everywhere, why'd we do this?
Yeah, totally. Why, girl, why?
Okay, so my other question is on hyaluronic acid.
Okay.
Now this seems to be a really big topic that I'm seeing everywhere, and every skincare line and company just promotes it like it's the best hydrator for your skin. So I kind of wanted to ask Cody about his thoughts on it as well as what it does. What is it?
Okay, first of all, hyaluronic is not new. Hyaluronic acid is not new. It has been around forever, but companies constantly are marketing, it holds 1,000 times its moisture and weight or whatever, and I'm just like, can we come up with some new verbiage here? Okay, first of all, it's been around forever. What's new is companies trying to formulate it in such a way that it will actually penetrate the skin. You have hyaluronic in your own skin, but the chances of any hyaluronic cream and serum getting into that layer of the skin to help stimulate your own hyaluronic acid or anything like that is very unlikely. So for the most part, I think hyaluronic acid is a very hyped up product that is being touted as obtaining all this moisture which plumps up wrinkles. Well, first of all, the molecular weight of that hyaluronic acid needs to be specific, and it needs to be like a lower or higher molecular weight, and there's different weights and there's different ways that they formulate it with different levels of that active agent, sodium hyaluronate, all kinds. And so in order for it to actually get into the skin to do its job to plump up the skin and to hydrate the skin, it needs to be engineered in a way to do that through the weight that they're using. And so what they're trying to do is to say that it's going to hydrate you. But if you're already dry and you put hyaluronic acid in you, it's actually going to suck out the moisture in your skin. Hyaluronic acid doesn't make you more moist in the way that you think. What it does is the moisture that it's holding is the vapor air, like the air moisture, more than anything. The reason why it's used in injections is because, and it's a low molecular weight that they use that with, but they're trying to tout off that you can put that low molecular weight on your skin and get a plumping effect. It's not going to happen, girl. It is not going to even get in the skin to the levels of where that hyaluronic acid actually is.
Right.
So, now if you are hydrated and moist, and you put hyaluronic acid in there, that can help a little bit. So I think the best thing you can do if you use any hyaluronic acid serum, moisturizer, doesn't matter even if it's from my line, is make sure your skin is damp with water first. And whether that's a spray or you wash your face and leave it a little wet and damp, because the water will act like a vehicle to be able to dry that into the skin a little bit more. But if a lot of these hyaluronic acid serums on the market really aren't going to do much, to be honest, in my opinion. They're not even engineered, especially if they're really cheap. They don't even have the technology in them to create small particles to be able to get into the skin. So they're just kind of sitting on the top layer. And some of them I've tried where if you put too much on, I mean, you're like dry as a bone, which doesn't make sense because it's supposed to hydrate you. So
more plumping though, huh? It's more so like a plumper.
It's like a plumper, yeah. But it also depends on the weight that they're using and also what they put in with that cream or serum. So that's why they put a lot of glycerin in there, and that's why they put water in there, because those are the vehicles that actually are doing it. It's really more the vehicles in there that are doing that than just the hyaluronic acid. Yeah.
So you just kind of pay for the name.
You're paying for this hyped up idea of a product being able to do something that it really can't do because it's not even able to penetrate and get into the skin. If you want like a formulation that's really next level and a company that's really next level, I believe, in their science and research and it's documented, then you would try Skin Medica. But their formulation for their hyaluronic acid is like $178. They ain't playing. It costs a lot to formulate this stuff. If you're buying all these cheap serums and formulations, just know you're getting kind of your money's worth in that essence. There's not that much technology in there. And the goal of all skincare is how do we get it to penetrate into the skin? That's why nanotechnology is becoming so big and available now, because they're creating ways of putting these products in microspheres so it actually will get into the smallest particle of the skin cells.
Okay. And so in conclusion, not for dry, thirsty skin.
Exactly.
Or just use dimethicone or something.
Yeah, or use even just vegetable glycerin, which I've talked about here. You know, it's much cheaper. And then you could also use that vegetable glycerin as a base first and then put on your moisturizer over that, and it will act as a humectant, binding moisture to the skin.
Yeah.
Or put the hyaluronic on damp skin and then put something that will seal it over that, like a dimethicone or something, so that it will kind of trap it into the skin. Otherwise it's going to evaporate or dehydrate the skin even more, or take the dry air. There's no water in the air, so it's going to just dehydrate you more.
Makes a lot of sense. Now you know. Debunked. Hyaluronic acid. Okay. So, Nick, we have time for another question?
Time.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So,
are you guys loving this? Let us know if you want more videos like this.
Yes, let me know. I always have questions and
all
kinds of things
I think
to
ones
know.
that we can do too are professional skincare questions, like meaning in the industry, like skincare practitioners questions and stuff. Yeah,
definitely. So I was telling Cody that I had a client who she does makeup for a living. So she was in a hurry one time and she just grabbed a brush, and I think it was a dirty brush, and she broke out all over in her lip, chin area, and it was just clusters, just really weird little clusters, but it was filled with pus. But it was you were easily able to extract it. And when she came to me and I finally took a look at her skin, it looked like an allergic reaction. And it kind of looked like the same reaction that I have gotten from using a really cheap body wash, but it was full of like scent and perfume. And it was like on my neck and chest and super irritated. I couldn't do anything crazy, just love it and hydrate it. So I guess I just wanted to talk more about that and maybe what you think it was.
You looking at my skin, girl?
No. He has perfect skin.
Oh, please. It takes work on it. You see me with these videos doing all this stuff.
Yes.
I don't have naturally good skin. Like, you naturally have good skin.
I can say that. Yeah, it's true.
Like, I have to, like, do products constantly. And you guys see what I do here. Like, I think, a real living testimony to my skincare and my treatments because, like, my boyfriend could just wake up with a hangover and he looks better than he did the day before. I'm like, what'd you put on your skin? He goes, oh, like saliva. I'm like, some people just have it like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so great question. So the first thing is that a lot of people don't clean their makeup brushes enough, and even I'm guilty of that. When I used to perform, I would be kind of like, a little bit negligent about that. But you can get bacteria harbored in brushes, and depending on the brush, what it's made of, that's why a lot of brushes are synthetic, because they don't harbor so much bacteria. So more natural brushes can harbor bacteria. Okay. And also cheaper makeup that build up and stuff and bacteria. And was this like a foundation brush? Do you know what kind of brush it was? Okay.
I believe so.
Well, foundation brushes, especially, that might have been a synthetic brush.
I think it was a kabuki brush too.
Oh, it was a kabuki brush,
It might have been, but she used it to touch up or put her foundation or base on.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times they take that dirty brush and they put it into the makeup too. So that makeup now, all of the parabens or whatever's in there to kill off the bacteria and all of that stuff is gone, girl, because it's like constantly getting your oil and bacteria in your skin put in there. So that's why I always say never have a brush touch the actual head makeup at all. You pour it onto a cotton or a paper towel or something, or pour it on your hand, because you just never want that. You never want a sponge going into anything. Like, I think it's just about being really clean and sanitary. And if it's in the bathroom, it's getting bacteria and dust and all kinds of stuff. But a lot of times when people use a dirty makeup brush or sponge or something, they can get contact dermatitis. They can get bacteria on there. They can get little rashes. They can get even, like, if you're sensitive, you can start to get like an acne, not an acne flare-up, but like eczema flare-up or a psoriasis flare-up. So it can be allergic reaction, or it can be, like I said, contact dermatitis, which is that you come into contact with something that the skin finds irritating, and you can change. So you can also get contact dermatitis using something over a long period of time. Let's say you didn't use it, you used it consistently, but then you become more sensitive because maybe you're using a different agent, like an acne product. So now your skin is a little bit more sensitive or sensitized, or you're over exfoliating, and now when you use something that maybe your skin before could ward off that bacteria or ward it off and be just fine with, it actually becomes very sensitive to that, and you don't realize because you haven't changed your regimen much.
And that's something that can go away. Like, it's just a...
It can go away.
Okay.
Yeah. And the best thing is to always clean your makeup brushes. And try never to really use makeup sponges twice if you can, unless you're cleaning them with hot soapy water, letting them dry. You want to let that brush dry completely. You want to let the sponge dry completely.
Yeah.
And you don't want to overly over-exfoliate your skin too much before you apply makeup, in my opinion, because you kind of keep that skin open, and then as soon as you exfoliate a lot, your skin kind of goes into a natural healing response. So when you start to put like a dirty anything on you, your skin bacteria, the acid mantle, has been compromised through that exfoliation a little bit, and so you're just more likely to have an issue of bacteria and buildup and congestion.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So my last question is one that I feel like I've been told just conflicting stuff, information. So can pregnant women get chemical peels?
Oh, good question. I love this question. You're so good. You're hired, girl. So yes and no. So there's a lot of information online about pregnant women and even ingredients and what they can use and what they can not use. And of course you should always consult your doctor, and you should always do what feels right for you. But there is a lot of information that's false information online. There's actually been no study that supports that you can't really use retinol. But of course do what you feel is right for you and your baby and your pregnancy. But I have a lot of pregnant clients. I have a lot of women. I fix their skin while they're pregnant, and I was actually trained under a high-risk pregnancy doctor, a perinatologist. So I got to learn about being pregnant, all kinds of stuff, what we could do, what we couldn't do. And we did do chemical peels on pregnant women. We did lactic acid peels. We also did light amount of salicylic acid peels, because during pregnancy your hormones can be really flared up. And sometimes salicylic acid is very helpful while someone is pregnant or getting that inflammatory kind of acne through hormonal acne, or when you're pregnant. And also, you know, a retinol peel I may not do on unless they were down with that. But in low percentages, I don't see it being a huge problem, as long as you're not really overzealous and being too aggressive. But more importantly, when you're pregnant, a lot of times you're also just more sensitive. So sometimes you don't want to do a chemical peel because it could be too much heat on your skin, and it could just be too irritating. You might not want to peel through that process. But I do have many women that I do treatments on, because especially a lot of my clients came to me for pregnancy and have melasma. So when they get pregnant again, I help treat that so that they don't get pregnancy mask. Is that you should treat your skin with light solutions like lactic acid, a little bit of salicylic acid. If you want to stay away from the retinol, you can, so that you are taking care of that melanin response that's occurring through the hormones. As it's occurring, versus waiting until you're done being pregnant, and then you're left with dark patches that you have to kind of fix, which costs a lot more money, and you end up spending a lot more time trying to fix. Yes. So I just think you would want to do your research, but be careful and just make sure that you're using less of the product, so you're not doing the same amount that you normally would when you're not pregnant.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it's a yes and no.
It's a yes and no, like a lot of things, you know, and I think it's also very individual. It's a personal choice. It's also like what you feel comfortable doing, and if you're not feeling comfortable like putting a certain chemical, and just so you know, let's clear the air a little bit about the word chemical, because the word chemical, we say chemical peel because that's been what's used since the 70s, but truly everything is a chemical. Oxygen is a chemical, water is a chemical, everything is a chemical. Are some chemical peels that we do more chemical based and probably caustic and irritating? Absolutely. But a lot of them are derived from sugarcane and natural substances and enzymes that are not harmful to the skin, but we still call them a chemical peel. I personally choose to call them a chemical peel, but a lot of companies now call them acid peels, fruit peels, skin peels, all these other words, because they wanted to get away from the word chemical. They've also wanted to get away from the word acid. I just try to tell people what it really is. This is what it is. It's a chemical peel. I'm going to do it on you. But it doesn't mean that it's this hardcore chemical that's going to hurt you or burn you or scar you or anything.
It's not like industrial cleaner.
It's not worth like putting battery acid on people or anything. No. You know, glycolic. glycolic acid derived from sugarcane is a chemical peel. Salicylic acid derived from aspirin or derived from willows bark is a chemical peel. They're all considered kind of chemical peels, but companies are now renaming them. They're rebranding the name of chemical peel because the consumer doesn't like hearing the word chemical and they don't like hearing the word acid. But I also get people that are super funny. They're like, I am vegan girl, I am all natural, all I do is drink and eat air and water, and I'm just a very clean person, I'm very conscious, I don't, I meditate 500 hours a day and whatever, but I'm dealing with this discoloration, this acne, and this scarring, and what kind of chemical peel are we doing today? I'm like, isn't that interesting, right? We can pick and choose our substances and what we care about, but so a lot of people freak out about that word, but really, in reality, it's just, it's a structure of a chemical or a molecule, so.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you touched on that, because I do feel like there is a stigma, and there's a lot of miscommunication and fearmongers too.
Fearmongers, big time fearmongers. I always say this too, it's about having personal experience with stuff before you really have such a justified opinion about something. And, I think more importantly, I ask the woman who's pregnant, do you feel comfortable with this? Because I can say all day, hey, no problem, it's going to be just fine for you, but what do you feel comfortable with? Right. Because it's not about me, it's not my baby. I'm not going to be breastfeeding that baby, okay?
Yeah, true.
So, what does your customer want? What do they gravitate to? But it's also about giving the right information.
Yeah. Like
retinol, you can use retinol, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. Just maybe not use as much. Use it fewer times a week. But, going off of Retin-A or retinol,
like prescription,
there's no documented research. Of course, there's no probably pregnant mama that wants to sit there and put tons of Retin-A on her face.
Right, and risk it.
Yeah, and all this stuff, I just think there is a lot of fear-mongering around that kind of stuff.
Right.
So. Awesome. Such great questions. Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have her. I think you'll be seeing more of her. Give her some love in the comment section. If you guys have any questions about today's video, feel free to ask them below this video. Remember to always stay gorgeous, and if you love this information, please subscribe. Alrighty, bye-bye.